Introduction: the new era of compensation transparency. As we continue through Chapter 4, we now focus on one of the most significant areas of regulatory change in recent years: compensation disclosure. In today's real estate environment, transparency around how brokers are paid is no longer optional. It is a strict compliance requirement. Arizona has reinforced this through updated rules, particularly AC R 4-28-701, which requires disclosure of compensation arrangements in a transaction. In commercial real estate, where commission structures can be complex and negotiated across multiple parties, understanding and properly documenting compensation is critical. Failure to do so can lead to disputes, loss of compensation, and disciplinary action under ARS Section 32 to 2153. What must be disclosed? The core requirement under AC R 4-28-701. Brokers must disclose the existence of compensation and identify all parties who will receive compensation in the transaction. This includes the employing brokers representing each party. Importantly, the rule does not require disclosure of the exact amount of compensation, only the fact that compensation will be received and who will receive it. This distinction is critical. In commercial real estate, where commissions are often negotiated and may vary based on deal structure, the focus is on transparency of relationships rather than specific dollar amounts. Timing of compensation disclosure. Timing is a key component of compliance. Compensation disclosure must be made at least 3 calendar days before the close of escrow COE. This ensures that all parties are aware of the compensation structure before the transaction is finalized. However, best practice, especially in commercial real estate, is to disclose compensation much earlier in the process. Early disclosure helps prevent misunderstandings and allows all parties to make informed decisions. Waiting until the last minute can create confusion and increase the risk of disputes. Commercial complexity, multiple brokers and fee structures. Commercial real estate transactions often involve multiple brokers, co-brokers, referral agreements, and layered commission structures. For example, a transaction may include a listing broker, a tenant representative, and a referral broker, all of whom are entitled to compensation. Each of these relationships must be disclosed. Additionally, compensation may be structured differently depending on the transaction, such as percentage-based commissions, flat fees, or lease-based calculations. Understanding these structures and ensuring proper disclosure is essential for compliance. Interaction with employment agreements. Compensation disclosure works hand in hand with employment agreements. While the employment agreement defines how the broker will be paid, the disclosure requirement ensures that all parties in the transaction are aware of who is being compensated. These two elements must align. For example, if a buyer's broker agreement states that the broker will receive compensation from the seller or listing broker, this must be consistent with the disclosures made in the transaction. Any discrepancies can create confusion and potential liability. Avoiding compensation disputes. One of the primary purposes of compensation disclosure is to prevent disputes. In commercial real estate, where deals can be complex and involve significant commissions, disputes over compensation are not uncommon. Clear and timely disclosure helps set expectations and reduces the likelihood of conflicts between brokers or between brokers and clients. For example, if all parties understand from the beginning who will be compensated and how, there is less room for disagreement later in the transaction. Broker supervision and compliance enforcement. Designated brokers play a critical role in ensuring compliance with compensation disclosure requirements. Under AC R 4-28-1103, brokers must supervise agents and ensure that all disclosures are properly executed and documented. This includes reviewing transaction files to confirm that compensation disclosures have been made in accordance with the rule. In commercial real estate, where transactions may involve multiple agreements and extended timelines, strong supervision is essential to maintaining compliance. Real-world application. Commercial scenario. Consider a commercial lease transaction involving a landlord, a tenant, and 2 separate brokerages. The listing broker represents the landlord, while a tenant representative broker works with the tenant. Additionally, a referral broker is involved in bringing the tenant to the deal. All three brokers are entitled to compensation. Under AC R 4-28-701, each of these relationships must be disclosed, identifying the brokers who will receive compensation. If this disclosure is not made properly or in a timely manner, it could lead to disputes or even jeopardize the transaction. Bringing it all together, transparency builds trust. Compensation disclosure is about more than compliance. It is about building trust. In commercial real estate, where transactions are complex and involve significant financial interests, transparency is essential. By clearly disclosing compensation relationships, agents demonstrate professionalism, reduce risk, and create a smoother transaction process. As we move into the final section of this chapter, we will explore how all of these documentation requirements come together in maintaining complete and compliant transaction files. Online discussion. Why does Arizona require disclosure of compensation relationships? Answer: to promote transparency, prevent disputes, and ensure all parties understand who is being compensated in a transaction. What is the difference between disclosing compensation and disclosing the amount? Answer: Arizona requires disclosure of who is being compensated, but not necessarily the exact amount. Why is early disclosure considered best practice in commercial real estate? Answer: it prevents misunderstandings, allows informed decision-making, and reduces the risk of disputes later in the transaction.